Welcome to Passport to Flavor with me, Chef Ripley. It's January and we all made a resolution to eat healthier, but it's past quitting day already and we want a burger. So I'm gonna show you how to make a blended burger, which is a way to take ground beef, make a burger, but make it slightly healthier for you so you can still get that taste but not feel as bad or guilty about breaking your resolution. So what is a blended burger? We're gonna take some mushrooms and we're gonna chop them up and cook them and then add them into some raw ground beef. What this is going to do is this is going to, one, add some juiciness to the burger so we can use a less fattier burger, like a 90%. And then also the mushrooms will add some necessary nutrients and cut back on the fat that would normally be in a full beef burger. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna just take these mushrooms that I've already washed and I'm gonna just chop them up as fine as I can. In the meantime, I'm heating up a pan because we always wanna put our food in hot stuff. So we're just gonna come through and break these mushrooms down as small as we can get them. And then we're gonna cook these. I'm using baby Bella mushrooms because I like the flavor, but any mushroom really is gonna be fine. This is 4 ounces of it. We're using that for a pound of meat. So for every pound of meat, it's about 4 ounces. That's about a quarter the amount of the beef is going to be mushrooms. Oh, missed a mushroom there. So once we chop them up, it doesn't have to be anything special, just getting it nice and small. We are going to cook them in the pan. The reason we're doing this is mushrooms hold a lot of moisture in, and by cooking them, we're kind of releasing some of that moisture out so that it's not going to make like a soggy burger, which is not something anybody wants. The burger we're making today is gonna be a Greek style burger, so we're gonna continue with the healthiness with that Mediterranean diet that we all hear about. So out here, I think I'm okay with the mushrooms. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of oil into this pan, about a tablespoon. And then let's just take these mushrooms and we're gonna put them into the pan and let them cook for a couple minutes. I'm not gonna add any salt or anything to this because we just want them to cook down. We'll season the patties before we get those cooking. Okay. So just let them cook, situate, stir them around every once in a while. And we're just looking for these to get brown and to see some of the moisture release. We're doing this at a pretty high heat. So as you can see here, this is what we call sweating. The mushrooms are releasing a little bit of liquid. We want to have a pan that's wide enough that all the mushrooms fit without being on top of each other so that we can get a little bit of caramelization as well, because that's going to make that meaty flavor. Mushrooms have a meaty flavor, so mixed in with the beef that we have, it's going to give it a nice, what they say is umami. If you don't know what umami is, that's like the new flavor. It just means earthiness, meatiness, and this is going to really up that meatiness of the burger. Even if you're not trying to be healthy, this is going to make it taste better. And like I said, here we have a 90% beef, which means that it's 90% lean meat and then 10% fat. Typically when people are making burgers, it's about 80-20. So this is cutting back a decent amount of that fat. Like I said, usually with less fat, it's not gonna be as juicy, but these mushrooms are gonna retain some of that moisture and give it a lot of flavor. Now that these mushrooms are sweating out, I can see liquid releasing from them, and I can see they're getting cooked down. You can see they don't look as fresh as they once did. We're gonna take these and put them into a bowl and just let them cool down for a couple minutes before we put them onto the burger. Because if we put it on too soon, while it's warm, it's gonna end up cooking those burgers, and we don't want that. Okay. So, we'll set these mushrooms to the side and let them cool down for a little bit before we mix it into the burger. And our next step is we are going to make the sauce. Like I said, we're doing a Greek style burger. So we are going to be making a tzatziki sauce, which is a Greek based sauce made from Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt also, although it does have fat in it, it has some of those good healthy fats that we're looking for. It also, compared to mayonnaise, is going to be a ton better. So this sauce is really simple to make. We are going to take a cucumber first, and we are going to grate this cucumber down until it's really fine. Now this is an English cucumber, which is key. English cucumbers have a thinner skin to it, so we don't need to peel it. And they also don't have a lot of seeds. If you want to use a regular non-English cucumber, you can just take out the seeds and peel it beforehand. So we're just going to take this on the largest setting of our box grater and just break this down. A lot of people, when they use a box grater, they just kind of stay up in one area. But if you use the whole thing, it happens a lot faster. You're not wasting as much time. And in no time, you're going to have all this cucumber grated. We'll call that good. And now, these cucumbers have a lot of moisture in it. If we are to add this right into a yogurt mixture, it's going to kind of like make the sauce really runny. So what we want to do is we want to take a paper towel, and we're just going to put these cucumbers into the paper towel and just squeeze out as much of that moisture as we can. If you have cheesecloth, that's fine. Cheesecloth's expensive. Why waste your money when you can just use a paper towel? So we're just going to squeeze out all of this moisture. Until you barely see any coming out. I don't know, maybe you could use this for a juice or something, I don't know. But squeeze all that moisture. You see there's a ton coming out. We'll put this to the side and we'll start working on the rest of the sauce. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this to the side. We'll just put it over here for now. And next step is going to be to mix the sauce. So I have another bowl here. We're going to add a cup of Greek yogurt. To that, we want to grate some garlic cloves to it to add some garlic flavor. So I'm going to take 3 or 4 garlic cloves. I'm going to peel them down, and I'm going to use a microplane to grate them. You can use you can just mince it if you want to, but I find when it's the sauce, we don't want the big chunks in there because that's going to end up like really making your breath have that garlic scent. So we're just going to smash it, peel it, and then microplane it. Which, if you don't know what a microplane is, this is just a grater with the finer teeth to it. I'll break that down into the sauce. Okay, so we got about 3-4 garlic cloves there. I like my stuff garlicky, so if you want to, you can cut this back down to 2, and it'd still be delicious. But I'm just taking this and I'm grating this all into the sauce. And then after this, we're going to add a little bit of vinegar, some oil, those cucumbers, and then we're pretty much ready to taste it, adding some salt and pepper afterwards. Okay, got 2 more to go. So always make sure you scrape the other side to get what you have in there. And we are ready to add these cucumbers in. We're going to add the cucumbers. We're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of vinegar. a teaspoon and a half of oil. We're gonna mix this all together, and then we'll season it with some salt and pepper. Now, traditionally this would be done with white pepper. White pepper is like impossible to find nowadays. Why they use white pepper is just so it doesn't have any like black specks in it. It's already green, so I don't mind a little black pepper in there. So we'll just incorporate that into it. A little salt, a little pepper, and this is gonna be the sauce for on our burger. It's gonna have that acidity that you want from like a pickle, and the fattiness of the mayonnaise without all the calories. So as I always tell my students, we gotta make sure we taste the food. So just grab something, give it a little taste. I can tell it definitely needs more salt. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more salt, a little bit more pepper, stir this together, and this is gonna sit in the fridge for about 30 minutes while we're finishing up the burgers. Why are we sitting in the fridge? All those flavors are gonna come together. That garlic is gonna kind of like not be as strong and pungent as it is now, and it's gonna create a melody of flavors that's gonna be delicious to go on the burger. To continue with the toppings for this burger before we start to cook it, we're just gonna slice up some onions and some tomato. This is a red onion. I'm sure you've all cried from using onions before. Why do you cry from onions? There's this enzyme in there that's like a pillow. When you break it, it bursts in the air, and if you're unlucky, it makes you cry. Most of that enzyme is held here on the root, which is the hairy part of the onion. So as long as you keep that on as much as possible, it'll limit the amount. You'll still end up crying if you're not used to it, but it will limit it. The best way to prevent yourself from not crying is having a really sharp knife and doing it as fast as possible, because it's really the only thing that's gonna work. To cut stuff extra thin, using a serrated knife is gonna help you with that. So I'm just gonna go through here and just make some really thin slices after I peel it of this onion. You could use a white onion if you want. I know some people don't like the pungency of the red onion with it, but I think it adds a good flavor with the other toppings that we're gonna have and the richness of the burger. So just peel this down. With the teeth on here, we can get nice and thin and get nice, almost see-through slices of onion. So no one needs that much onion on their burger. Okay. We're just gonna lay this on this plate so that it's ready for us once our burger's ready. And now to the tomato, same thing. Using a serrated knife is just gonna help us get it nice and thin. A lot of people put lettuce on their burgers too. By all means, if you want some lettuce on your burger, that's fine. I just always find it gets wilted and kind of slimy and prefer not. So we'll just be using tomato, onion, our tzatziki sauce, and then the burger, which is gonna have some mushrooms added into it, and a little bit of feta cheese, which is gonna be our cheese. Feta cheese is a little less fat than most other cheeses, so it's gonna still give us that cheesiness we want, but not as much of the fat that we don't want in this season of being healthy. So here I have a pound of ground beef. It's now time to start mixing in those mushrooms. They have cooled down nice. I'll remove these. They've cooled down nice, so we can go ahead and mix those into the burger. And with that, we really want to work with our hands to get it nice and combined. So I'm going to put some gloves on just to make less of a mess. We'll go ahead and season it before we mix it with some salt and some black pepper. And then my secret touch is a little bit of ranch powder. I think it just gives a little bit more flavor. Who doesn't like ranch? So just sprinkle a little bit of that on top, and we're just gonna really work this with our hands so it kind of emulsifies and becomes one thing. So I'm just gonna go through here, being kind of aggressive with it to get all that mushroom added in there. Once again, these mushrooms are gonna add more flavor. They're gonna make it slightly healthier, and also it's good for the environment. Beef is a big part of the pollution that we have in this country, and by limiting the amount of meat you eat, you can limit the amount of emissions that and your carbon footprint. So just using a little bit of mushrooms in here, you're cutting back on some of the beef, still getting it though, so you don't have to go all over and be vegan, you know? So we're just mixing this together till it's combined. And then I'm gonna go ahead and heat up this pan here. We want this pan to be screeching hot before we go ahead and add the burger in. So I have this turned on. We'll let this heat up, and then we'll start forming the patties. With a burger patty, a lot of times if you just flatten it like this, you get a nice burger, but sometimes it's got like that weird dome on top. Rachel Ray taught me this when I was a kid, but if you just press it, not literally on TV, but if you press it in the center, as it cooks, that meat is gonna rise and it's not gonna have that weird shape, so that the ingredients are gonna stay on better. So we'll just take this burger. The idea is this is making 4 burgers, so just divide it into about 4 and pat it out till we get patties. No one's gonna care if it's not perfectly shaped. In fact, McDonald's just spent a bunch of money to make their burgers imperfect in size because they wanted it to look more homemade. So you're making it homemade, let's just keep it that way. One key thing to note about these burgers as well is because there is cooked stuff inside of the burger, this is now considered a stuffed meat, and based on protocol, we cannot cook this to like medium rare or anything like that because those mushrooms are not gonna get there's a chance of it carrying on that E. coli or whatever could possibly be on here. So that is important to note with these. We don't want to we don't want to have a medium rare burger. I mean, I know that's my favorite way to have a burger, but when it comes to something like this, it's still going to be juicy. You're not going to notice that it's not medium rare because those mushrooms are going to add that flavor to it. So I'm checking the pan. Let me take off this glove. Waiting. It's not hot enough to me quite yet. I should be putting my hand here, and it should be a little too warm, and I want to move away. Right now I'm pretty comfortable. It's like a nice day at the spa. So we'll give it a couple more minutes, but at this point I can go ahead and put a little bit of oil in. We don't need a lot because there is still some fat in here from the burger. Then we'll just wait for it to heat up, and we'll put that in there. At the very last step, we're going to take this bun and we're going to toast it a little bit in the pan too to give it a little bit of flavor as well. So let's just check and see. I think we're about ready. When we put something into the pan, we should always hear something. It should never be quiet because that means that the pan's not hot enough and that flavor is not going to get on there. So I'm just going to wiggle around some of this oil, take one of these patties, and just slap it down, and hopefully we hear a noise. If not, I'm impatient. Ooh, that's what we want to hear. We hear a little bit of a sizzle. To this, we're gonna add some salt on top. It might look like a lot of salt, but as it cooks, it's gonna go in there. It's gonna be the perfect amount. So now, key thing with burgers is to not over flip them. The idea is you should only flip it once, and that's when it's mostly cooked and you're ready to go. So we just gotta be patient and watch it cook, which is hard sometimes, but it's gonna work out. Blended burgers also typically work better in a pan. Sometimes the moisture from the mushrooms can cause fire spurs, so if you're using like a grill, they can kind of fall apart a little bit more, so I suggest using a griddle, a pan, something like this in order to cook it. Just let this cook for a couple minutes. When you cook burgers, you don't want to have too many burgers in the pan at the same time because it's not going to get that color on the bottom that we're looking for. So 3 or 4 in here max. This size pan, the smaller the pan, it's like when you're on an elevator, it's crowded, you want to sweat more. If you're sweating more, it's not gonna, if you're food and you're sweating, that means you're not like adding color to, you're not tanning, right? You're just sweating. We don't want that. So let it cook for a little bit, and then we'll flip it over, start toasting the bun, and then it's time to get topping. How do you know when it's ready for the flip? What I'm looking for on the side is I'm looking at the color. I can start to lift it up. If it's sticking, that means it's definitely not ready. Now this, we put a little bit of oil down here so we don't need to worry about that. But we're looking for that brownness to come up like halfway. If you really wanted to, you could pick it up and you could look underneath and see. But I should see the brown coming up a little bit more on the side of the pan, and then we'll go ahead and flip it. Okay, so I think we're at the point where I'm ready to flip it. I'm looking down. I can see the bubbles on the bottom of the pan bursting a little bit more, and the brown is coming up the sides. So we'll just take this and flip it over, and you can see we got that nice caramelization on the top. It's nice and brown, and we'll just let this cook for a little bit longer until no more pink in it. The proper temperature is 160 degrees. I don't actually use thermometers a lot of the time when I'm cooking at home. One way to tell is you have your fingers. If you want something well done, if you touch your thumb to your pinky and you feel right here, don't press a lot. If you just feel right here, that's how the meat should feel on top of it. If you want to do rare, it's your pointer finger, middle finger is mid-rare, over to the ring finger. The ring finger is medium, and then touching with your pinky is how well done should feel. So that's what we're looking for here. I'm just touching on the top. I mean, I can still see red in this burger. Maybe it could have gone a little bit on the other side, but I'm impatient. I just want to eat this thing. So we'll let it go. And in the meantime, we can get this burger bun starting to toast. Toasted bun just means it's going to hold on that flavor. It's not going to fall apart as much. We already have some oil, some fat from the burger in here. So I'm just going to kind of rub it in that and leave it over to the side. So as this burger cooks, we're getting some of that flavor onto the bun and all ready to go. So we have our tzatziki sauce here. We have our tomatoes, we have our onions, and we have our feta cheese. There's one ingredient we didn't add into the tzatziki sauce yet, and that's just a little bit of dill. I like dill. If I'm having a burger, I usually like having pickles on it, but this is going to kind of replace that flavor, so there's no need. If we're looking here, the bun's got a nice golden brown on the bottom, so we're just going to go ahead and take this off. And just take a couple sprigs of dill. No need to chop this or anything. You can kind of just break it with your hand. We don't need a lot. Why are we doing this now and not earlier? Dill can sometimes wilt and change color. So by adding it in now, we're making sure that that green is nice and vibrant. So we'll just add this in. Grab a spoon and stir it around. And now all that's left is that burger. It's got to hurry up for us here. I can still see some pink on here. So I'm gonna just let it cook. This is not a smash burger. You don't need to smash it down. You can just leave it like this. And we'll just wait around a little bit more. Burgers always take time. So while we're letting this burger finish, we can go ahead and start getting the toppings on. I like to put the feta below the burger. One, because as the burger sits on top of it, it's gonna melt a little bit and get some of the warmth from the burger. And also, if you put it on the top, it's just gonna fall off. Here, it's got the cement of the tzatziki sauce that we'll go ahead and spread down on both sides. And we throw a little bit of the feta on here for that saltiness, that cheesiness that we all look for in a burger. I don't want to do it, but I want to flip it because I'm seeing some pink up here. I know I said not to flip it, but I think I was impatient. So I'm going to flip it over because I can see a little bit of pinkness on that side. And I just want to get it done so we can get this plated. Always cook with hot heat for burgers because lower you go, you're not going to get these crispy bits on top, and that's what we look for. As I'm feeling it, it's feeling more like how I described with my pinky on my thumb. So I think we're almost there, but I did see that pink, so we're gonna go a couple more minutes just to make sure. Now we'll top it with a little bit of onion, a little bit of tomato, and we're all set to enjoy this thing. Okay, let's just check and see if that pink is gone. And it is. I think we're good to go. We'll go ahead and take this burger, put it directly on top of this bun. Add a little bit of tomato, some red onions. Like I said, if you want to use lettuce, that's fine. I just find it always wilts. So not my preference, but you can make this your own. And we have a nice burger that's gonna feel like a cheat when really it's not because of all the mushrooms and everything in there. The burger's all ready. Normally I wouldn't cut a burger, but just to show you today, I just wanna let you see all those layers in there. So we'll just come right through and show you that cross section. And you can see that burger is fully cooked. It's got a nice juiciness to it from those mushrooms and the beef, and you're never gonna even know the mushrooms on there. This is a nice little cheat meal for you to have. The burger, you can do whatever you want to it. You don't have to make it Greek. We just did today because Mediterranean diets, those are healthier for you. This is a good way to go. Well, if you try this at home, please share it with us on social media, and I hope you enjoy this recipe. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Passport to Flavor.